Back to WMMBAM.com, keyword video. It is our video on demand section. Our political candidate interviews. The forum today, County Commission District 3 race. The incumbent is Trudie Infantini. The challengers, Jason Mahaney and Helen Voltz. This is where we let the candidates question each other and let you take a peek as they do. Trudie, you are the incumbent. We're going to let you sit for a moment. Helen Voltz, you're challenging for this seat. Your first question for Trudie Infantini, please.
Okay. Well, I've got quite a few questions. So
we've got limited time. Pick the best one and go, and we'll see how many we can get in.
All right. I just got your flyer yesterday, and your number 4 for your application for Brevard County Commissioner was must be able to work with others. And actually, I thought it was a joke because you don't get along with anybody on the commission, and I'm just wondering how you could have really put that in there.
Well, the reason I put it in there was because, like I said in my flyer, I have been married for 31 years to the same man. And anybody who knows how to have a marriage for 31 years, you know how to choose your battles. I pick my battles with the other members of the board, and that's why over 90% of my votes go with the other board members. But I will challenge them on those other 10%. Anytime you're going to be using taxpayer dollars or misappropriating funds, I'm going to question you. I'm going to do my own homework, which some people don't do. I'm going to do my own homework, and I'm going to stand up for the taxpayers. I'm not going to stop.
Well, I've been married for 44 years, and I get along perfectly fine, even though I disagree with many of the votes that people make. I never go back and rehash like you do continuously. Well, if you hadn't voted for this or if you hadn't voted for that, it's a continuous battle. You send out emails criticizing the other 4 commissioners on a regular basis, and then you wonder why they criticize you on the dais.
I've actually only sent out about 3 emails criticizing the others, and it's on the North Brevard Economic Zone. Almost every single time. The first time was to let the taxpayers know to show up for the budget workshop so they knew that a tax increase was coming up. Because last time, even though Mary Boleyn said raising taxes isn't an option, she did it anyway. So I was prepared this time. I sent out an email blast and let everybody know, guess what? If you don't attend that meeting, they're going to raise your property taxes. And in spite of that, in spite of the 500 people that showed up at that budget workshop, and I thought we were a representative form of government, they still raised property tax rates. And so I completely disagree with you. All you did when you were on the board was you'd vote yes for spending, and then once the spending went through, you'd vote no on the budget. I don't. I'm consistent. I vote against the spending right up front, then I vote against the budget when it comes up to us.
All right, Trudie, let's get your question for Helen.
Oftentimes you make criticisms of me for not taking briefings. Although I do take numerous briefings, you've criticized quite frequently that I don't. One of the things that I noticed that you took a briefing on was on the fire assessment. Had you done a little bit of your own homework, you would have found out it wasn't revenue neutral. And also, fire assessments are any new assessment is supposed to go to the voters. So I'd like to know, why did you implement the fire assessment without going to the voters for approval as required, costing the taxpayers roughly $21 million every year?
It was $21 million too much, is what it was. When I got the information from the county, it was that previous day or that day that land had been bought and sold to the county. We had no chance of looking up on the website and finding out when the land was sold, how much it was sold for, how much it was bought for. We did not have a chance to do that. I was the third vote on that. I did vote in favor of that. City of Palm Bay sued the county. The county was wrong. The county was spending general fund tax dollars for our fire department, which meant that every single city in Brevard County was also paying for our fire department because we are the ones that we just provide for unincorporated, but yet they were paying for our fire department. So something had to be done, or we would have zero fire department at all. Was it the best decision that I made? It was not. I never would claim to make the absolute perfect decisions every single time that I've made a decision. We make decisions, hundreds and thousands of decisions over 4 years, and if anybody can say that they have made every single perfect decision, then they're wrong.
But this is a fire assessment, and that's something that's below the line. Taxpayers were supposed to be allowed to vote for it, yet you voted for it. Had you done your own homework, which is what my staff and I do, we would have never voted for that. Further, the clerk of courts gave you the information prior to that and submitted it not only to Don Luss, the assistant county manager, Stockton Witten. I know because I personally hand-delivered it back when I was an auditor. So you had information from the clerk of courts, a very reliable source. He's known for giving out, this was Scott Ellis, he was known for giving out very poignant audits to let you know information that was otherwise not presented by staff, which is why I don't just take staff briefings, I gather my own information. If you've done some homework on your own, now we're stuck with this for the rest of whatever time, and now they're talking about increasing the fire assessment in 2013. And so if you keep the same board, which is what's up there right now, the voting block, that fire assessment is now going to be increased, and it was because of your vote. That's a very expensive wrong vote. I won't vote perfectly every time, but I'll tell you what, it won't cost the taxpayers $21 million every year.
Well, it doesn't cost $21 million every year. It costs $21 million too much that they took out of the first 2 years. When I found out after the second year that they collected $21 million too much money, then what I did is I told the county manager, I said, you either fire the county, or fire the fire chief, and you need to go too. I got a second on that, didn't go anywhere. Afterwards, one of the commissioners said, oh, I would have voted for you, but, I didn't feel comfortable. We could have gotten rid of all of that stuff. Something had to be done. I made the choice to do it. We were given legal advice as to what we were doing. If our attorney, who is supported by county tax dollars, if he's telling us that what we've done is legal, and of course nobody's taken us to court over it since, so I'm assuming that it was legal. Was it the right thing to do at the time? No.
Well, you say that...
All right, hang on, ladies. Jason, it's time for the guys to get involved here a little bit. And what I'd like to do is give you a chance to ask Trudie your question for her.
Okay, my question for Trudie is she has a past. So what I'm curious is, if there's anything you could change over the last 4 years, what would you have done differently?
I can't say that there's anything that I would have done differently. I've posted the voting record online to make sure all the voters understand. I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and I put it up there. I'm proud of my voting record, so I've posted it online. I've increased transparency. We got the agenda online. Before, it was just a 3-page document which summarized what we were going to talk about. Through working with the then clerk of court, Scott Ellis, we were able to post the entire county agenda online. So now anybody who wants to see what's going to be brought up before the county commission, they can read it in detail. That's another thing that took place. And Helen had talked about me getting buy-in from the other commissioners. Well, one of the things she tried to do was let go of the county manager at the time. I successfully did that because I wasn't happy with the way the county was running. And so I did make the motion to fire the county manager, and I did get the buy-in from the other individuals. So that was something that I did, and also the fire chief was let go. So I guess I must be getting some buy-in from the other commissioners on things that are terribly important.
All right, Trudie, let's let you ask Jason a question now.
Okay. Jason, you've said that you're for the economic zone. With unemployment higher in the southern part, south of the Pineda, than it is in the north of the Pineda, why do you support the North Brevard Economic Zone, sending millions of our taxpayer dollars to just one district for the next 30 years?
Well, it's not just sending millions of dollars to one district, it's sending it to Brevard County. Now, not all the money goes to that North Brevard Economic Development Zone. A lot of the people that were unemployed now in South Brevard worked in North Brevard. So that's the reason you have to grow the areas that are hurting the worst.
That area is not hurting the worst. South Brevard is actually hurting worse. If you look at any of the articles, all of the development that's taking place now is taking place in the north. All of the new jobs are taking place in the north. So I still don't understand. It is all going to stay in the North Brevard Economic Zone because it's required to by law. And if you'd read the document, they can't take that money and invest it down in the south part of the county. It all has to stay up in District 1 only, and only in the business areas. So individuals don't realize they're going to be paying higher taxes. They're not just going to be paying, they think that they're going to be receiving big benefits. They're not. Their taxes are also going to go up.
Now, South Brevard, we do have development going on here. We're getting $100+ million Harris building coming to town. There are restaurants now that are starting to come to South Brevard, so we are starting to grow down in South Brevard.
But Harris that's already planned. We didn't need an economic zone. Why don't they do something like that up in the north rather than create a whole economic zone? For instance, tax abatements. Give a new business that's coming in or an established business that wants to expand like Harris.
That's a great
Why
idea.
don't you give them tax abatements instead of creating this zone with millions of dollars that will just stay there? I don't know. They're not going to be contributing their portion to the infrastructure of the rest of the county. Only our tax dollars are going to be paying for the infrastructure necessary.
Trudie, as the incumbent, I can imagine you would be the focus of most of the questions here, but I'm going to let you sit out for a second. Jason, you have a question for Helen?
I have the same question for Helen, actually. Being you've had a past experience with the commissioner, what would you do? Should you have done different, do you feel?
Oh, there's quite a few different things that I would have done differently. Votes that I've taken, as I look back now, I don't think they were the right votes. But you know what? At the time I made them, they were the right votes. I had the courage to make a vote, not just vote continuously no on items. I made the decision, and it's not always the right one, and it is what it is. But leaders sometimes step out and they make the decisions that are tough.
All right, Helen, what's your question for Jason?
My question for Jason would be, you have very little experience with working with billion-dollar budgets, with multiple employees, with a number of different issues that you don't have to deal with down in a small town of Grand Falcaria. How are you qualified to the citizens of Brevard County? How do you think you're qualified to make sure that all of the issues that we deal with, that Grand Falcaria doesn't deal with, how do you think you're qualified to do all of that?
Well, I've been on the board from Grant Valcaria since the incorporation. So once we started, we had no government set up at all. So we had to create everything from the ground up. I'm able to take those experiences that I have with Grant Valcaria and bring them to the county also. When you say there's no limited experience, I've got 6 years there. I'm working government daily, every day. So I do understand how government works.
Okay.
I want to thank all of you for being here. That's going to do it. We are out of time. We were actually overtime on this video on demand section. So thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the extra time. And you can join us back here at WMMBAM.com, keyword video. These things will continue right up through the primary election. We'll see you back here soon.